Afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm Mary Grace, and we are live, and this is Real Talk with Mary Grace. Apologies for coming on a little bit late today. Just had a couple of things that had to be dealt with. Okay. Hope everybody's having a great day. I hope you guys had a good weekend. I'm Mary Grace, and this is Real Talk with Mary Grace. And if you hear that little cat sound, that's Barley George, and he is part of our show sometimes. He was up here a little while ago. Hope everybody's having a great day. Say hello as you come in, and just be sure and share this out. If you like the content, go ahead and share it. Put it on Facebook, put it on any platform that you're on, and join us for the show. So we're going to talk a little bit today about the agenda that's going on with the people that are running the pandemic. We're going to talk about SCOTUS, the Supreme Court, what happened last week. And we're going to talk a little bit about just some of the techniques that they use to gaslight and convince people of what's going on that's not actually going on. So that's what we're going to do. Please tag people so that we can get a lot of people in here to listen. I love it when people are listening live. I know that some of you can't come on now and you're going to watch on the replay. So I do appreciate that. If you're coming in on the replay, please leave a comment and just let us know that you were here. I think I can see all your comments on YouTube. I don't know if I can always see them on Facebook. I do see them on the other platforms, though. So we're on CloutHub as well, channel 111. And don't forget to follow that channel 111 on CloutHub, because that's where I'll be. That and Truth Social, which hasn't actually launched yet. But I'll be on those platforms if the socialist media overlords decide that I am no longer welcome on Facebook or YouTube or Twitter. They already deleted my Twitter the first time, my big account. And so it's just a matter of time, before I move over to those other platforms. Okay, so Barley George is having a moment. You're going to hear him in the background. There's nothing I can do about it right now. He's trying to get outside, and he's having a little bit of a meltdown because he's not going to go outside. So sorry about that. He's a talker, and that's just the way it is. Okay. Also, be sure and check my channel for the shorts, the little YouTube shorts, because if I put up videos of Barley George, I'm going to put it on the shorts section of YouTube. Yeah, he's just having a time today. He's talking. He wants to go out, but let's see, Grandpa is not around, so he's not able to work that part of the equation. So anyway, can you, I'm sure you can hear him. I can hear him. It's obnoxious. Yeah, it's the toddler/teenager coming out in him. Okay. We'll see if I'll see if I can keep going. It is a little bit distracting, I'll be honest. Okay. But here's what I wanted to talk about first. I wanted to talk about the fact that the Supreme Court on, was it Thursday or Friday, heard oral arguments against the vaccine mandates at the federal level. And there's a couple things that I want to say. I don't know who okay, well, I don't know who hires our lawyers. I don't know who represents Team America in these cases. I know Jay Sekulow, Jordan Sekulow have gone to the Supreme Court and argued cases. But there are moments when I look at these lawyers and I just think, okay, you're supposed to be on Team Freedom. You're supposed to be on Team America. And you don't have a better comeback or rebuttal to the nonsense that we're hearing right now from these so-called justices. It's kind of shocking to me, sometimes. Like, okay, Justice Sotomayor, um, she, I don't know if she's just dumb, like if she's competing with April Ryan for dumb, or if she's just playing coy because she knows that whatever she says will just be out there and that she will never be forced to correct it, because that's what they do a lot of times. They just outright lie and put this stuff out there in the narrative, in the conversation, and then they're never held accountable. So I don't know what the case is. I don't know if you guys heard her comments about the fact, or that she said, hold on a second. Barley, no, no. Now he's going to pout. I don't know if you guys heard her. Um, hold on just a second. I can't keep going like this. Hold on. Maybe he'll settle down. This is it bothering you guys? Because if it is, I'll deal with it. Otherwise, we're just gonna keep going. This is my life. I mean, oh my gosh. He goes from door to door trying to get what he wants. Sorry. Okay, I'm trying to talk about how stupid this justice is. All right. So okay. It's really loud. Oh my goodness. He's persistent. I mean, you got to give him that. You got to give him that. Oh my God. You should see him. He's so, oh gosh. Okay. Um, now I feel like maybe he needs another cat to keep him busy. But all right, let me go back to Sotomayor. So here's what she said. Here's what this Chief Justice, one of the people that Grandpa is on the computer, so he's not going to do anything. If Barley goes upstairs and tries to get him to let him out, he's just going to ignore him. Yeah, so now he's going upstairs. He's going to go upstairs and sit at the door, and yeah, and he's going to not get results because Grandpa's not in the kitchen. So, okay. Apologies to the new people. Sometimes we have to deal with the children. And that's because working from home has its pluses and its minuses. Right now, we're dealing with Barley George. And he's just going to keep going until he realizes that nobody's coming to help him. Yeah, he's like, wait a minute. Usually, if I go upstairs, Grandpa gives me what I want. But Grandpa's not up there. Grandpa's in the computer room. Okay. Which is in the back bedroom. Yeah. He's so funny. Okay. Oh my gosh. He's so loud. All right. So let me get back to what I was talking about. I'm not going to get distracted by the cat again. I wanted to talk about this because this is what she did the other day. She said that we had hundreds of thousands of children, at least 100,000 children in the US that are severely ill from COVID, which is not true. And that most of them were on ventilators. So just two flat out lies. I mean, she was being fact checked in real time. But here's the thing. Where were our lawyers? Why aren't they just jumping up on a soapbox and saying, hold up, if you're going to decide a case like this, you actually need to know the facts. Because the fact of the matter is that these justices are given, homework before hearing oral arguments. And it's clear that they didn't bother to read or even have somebody summarize the arguments for them. They came into this blind, and this should be problematic for everybody. This should raise concerns for everybody, regardless of which side of the aisle you're on, because I wish I had something I could throw at Barley, because that's what I would do right now. Because it should be problematic no matter what side of the aisle you're on, because the fact that they go into something that has a lasting impact on people's lives. I mean, this is a big deal. This is a really big deal, because the decision that is being argued is whether the federal government can mandate shots, can mandate medical procedures. And so if it does, if they're not prepared for this and they rule in favor of the federal government on this, this can have far-reaching implications for years and years and years to come. We saw that with Roe v. Wade. That never should have been even mandated or ruled on at the federal level. It's a states' rights issue. And getting to the states' rights issue, let me just say, yeah, I'm going to have to get Barley. I'm going to have to get rid of him because I can't even concentrate. It's ridiculous. And he knows that I'm in a situation where I can't do anything. So I'll be right back, guys. Hold on. Okay, sorry about that. It's like having somebody screaming at you. Um, yeah, okay. Now I can think. Um, all right. So, yeah, what I was going to say is it's not just that she's stupid or pretending to be stupid. It's that A, she's getting away with it. That nobody is like there's no timeouts. You don't get put in timeout if you're a Supreme Court justice and you're exercising that level of stupidity on the bench, and that the decisions that you make will affect hundreds of millions of Americans, not just now, but for generations to come. That's the really concerning thing here, is that they're so compromised and so misinformed, and that they couldn't even be bothered to look at the facts before the case. So that's part of it, and part of it is the fact that you have attorneys, for Team America that aren't really. I mean, I don't even know how to say it. Like they're not even smart. Am I? I mean, am I missing something here? Like, are they smart and they have a different play that I'm not understanding? Or are they just misinformed themselves? Are they just that damn dumb? I don't know. But it's extremely concerning. It's extremely concerning that you have people in this place of power. I mean, there's 9 of them. There's 9 people that are being tasked with making a ruling on this. And let's think about this. Let's think about the implications. If they can rule that the federal government, that if these justices can rule that the federal government has any kind of say in what people do medically, and mandating a medical procedure as a condition of, accessing your freedoms, your God-given freedoms, then think about this, because then they can mandate. Why wouldn't they be able to mandate forced sterilization? Why wouldn't they be able to mandate any surgery at all? Why wouldn't they be able to mandate abortion if a woman gets pregnant and it's interfering with her job and they don't want to do paid leave? Why wouldn't, like, this would be opening up a Pandora's box beyond anything you could imagine right now. And so that's my concern about the Supreme Court. And here's the other thing. I think Sotomayor was a diversity hire, to be honest with you. I mean, she's a product of affirmative action. That's all I can. That's my only guess about that. Because she also doesn't understand that she doesn't even know what what states' rights is or how states' rights works. You know, I mean, she threw out a statement, a question about this, like why should states get to decide this? I'm summarizing, but that's pretty much the sum of what she said. And I'm like, because it's right there. Like the whole point of our government, the whole point of our Constitution, the whole point of all of it is so that the federal government has limited powers. The powers of the federal government, as envisioned by our founding fathers, were minuscule. The main power of the federal government was to protect the citizens, not to rule over you. And the crazy thing is, they have managed to turn it around in such a way to make it sound like, um, to make it sound like what they're doing is actually for your protection. And that goes along with the mass formation psychosis, which is that they have managed to hypnotize, hundreds of millions of people into believing that, this is for your good, that this abuse that people have been subjected to for going on 3 years now is for your safety. I mean, we should know, anybody should know, if the federal government comes to you and says, yeah, I'm from the government and I'm here to help, or I'm from the government and I'm doing this for your safety, you should run the other way. You should run, like run, like do a throat punch, then run. I mean, I'm not advocating violence, but you get what I'm saying. Just like do the equivalent of even a verbal throat punch. That's what I'm saying. So, I mean, it's shocking to me. It's shocking. And I wanted to show you some things that came up recently to do with the gaslighting. I'll get to this in just a minute. Hold on. Apologies. Taking a little break here. I was trying to find this one quote that I had about the limiting the federal government. I don't know what I did with it. Okay. So the whole point, though, is that they've convinced people that what they're doing is for their own good, and because of the effectiveness of the gaslighting and the mass formation psychosis, it's actually been highly effective. And so it's very interesting. And I talked about this last week on the show. I talked about the mass formation psychosis. And if you want more information on that, I would go and listen to the interview that Joe Rogan did with Dr. Robert Malone. He talks about that. He sort of introduced it into the current lexicon. And but he said that it was a Belgian scientist who has been teaching on this and who has been lecturing on this concept. But the whole idea of it is that that they can use propaganda to hypnotize society at a massive collective level and just create this hive mind mentality. That's what we've seen for going on 3 years now. That's what he was talking about. And it's very interesting because social media over the weekend was in a full court press to tell you that mass formation psychosis isn't a thing. Anytime all of the media outlets coordinate to rebuff, to dispute a talking point and to fact check it and tell you that it's false, you can be damn sure that it's true and that it's effective. And so I mean, I think you guys know that, but that's something that you might want to point out to people who are still in normie land. Maybe just say, hey, why do you think that we're seeing the same headlines across AP and Reuters? And by the way, I think that the editor-in-chief of Reuters is on the board of, is it Pfizer, on one of the big pharma companies? Conflict, I know, shocking. But, these are the people that are supposedly doing the fact checking. Yeah. And so it's just it's disturbing. I'm looking at your comments here. I just want to make sure. Somebody asked what happened to our constitutional rights. I'll tell you what happened to our constitutional rights. People laid down and gave them away. That's what happened. And once you give them away, like, have you figured out it's very hard to get them back? Um, yeah, it's insane. It's just crazy. Why do people not understand this? Our constitutional rights are protected by the Constitution. They're given to us by God. And so when we willingly lay them down, the autocrats in power are not giving them back. They're rights that you have to fight for, that you have to stand up for and preserve. And our Constitution is supposed to do that. Our Constitution is supposed to do that. That's the whole point of the Constitution of the United States of America, is that it protects our rights from people that would want to take them away. There's nothing in the Constitution that says that our rights come from government. They come from God. It's right there in the Declaration of Independence. Okay. Now, let me get back to what I was saying. I wanted to talk to you a little bit on the same vein of this mass formation psychosis, the way that, and they're probably going to censor me for using that term because they've deemed it as disinformation. So hopefully hopefully that won't happen. So maybe I'll use a different term, MFC. We'll just call it MFP. Sorry. We'll just call it MFP for short. Okay. So, yeah. MFP. Hey, Christy, good to see you. So I wanted to talk to you about something. I started this conversation on Thursday. I told you that the narrative is shifting. I told you that they're shifting away from the outright disaster of the Brandon regime's COVID management plan, because it's been a disaster. They haven't been able to mitigate. They've trying to force people to get shots. Now they're coming into the 2022 midterms, and they know that there's big problems. And I talked about this the other day. I said, all of a sudden they're talking about the Flu-Rona. Remember that? I told you, and somebody actually sent me an ad, and I saw an ad in the paper, get your flu shot. And so they're shifting the narrative. I said, when they talk about Flu-Rona, that is allowing them to shift away from the coronavirus narrative, because they know they're losing on that. And, battling the flu has been successful year after year. They've managed to get flu shots in people's arms without even an argument. And, one of the things that I think they may be concerned about is, that they may actually get pushback for the flu vaccine going forward, because so many people have become more awake to the realities of what's in these shots. And so one of the things they're doing is they're shifting from COVID over to the flu. And that's one thing they're doing. Now, over the weekend, since I told you about this, since I told you to expect this, they actually ramped up their narrative. And the CDC director actually came out yesterday and said that that most of the deaths, I think it was over 75%. Sorry, I've got something in my eye. Boy, what a morning, huh? It's like I've got so much interference right now. Okay. Let's see if we can get through this show. So now she's saying that the majority of deaths were from people with 4 or more comorbidities. Okay. Raise your hand if you already knew that and you were called a conspiracy theorist, a anti-vaxxer, a science denier, right? Raise your hand if you already knew that, like over a year ago. You knew that in the middle of 2020, that the people who were dying were the people with multiple comorbidities. They even came out with the numbers that said that 96%, 94% had died with multiple comorbidities. Remember that? So now we've got Rachel out there telling us the truth of what we knew all along. Once again, the conspiracy theorists are vindicated. Now, I'm glad they're saying this. However, it worries me whenever I see them actually telling the truth. It doesn't have anything to do with helping you. It has to do with preserving their narrative and shifting it to meet their agenda. They always have an agenda. This is something. If you take nothing away from the show today, I want you to understand. There's always an agenda with these people. And so if they come out and suddenly start telling you the truth about the data, it's because they're shifting to something else that they think is going to further their agenda in the direction they want it to. Okay, it could be that something is that they're trying to get ahead of a narrative. It could be maybe they're going to throw Fauci under the bus. I doubt it. Maybe they're trying to get ahead of the horrible numbers that they have going into the 2022 midterms. I don't know yet, but I know that something is up because they went from, you know, telling us that this was a pandemic of the unvaccinated to telling us that the majority of deaths are from people with multiple comorbidities. It can't be both. All right? Because the truth of the matter is you can't come up with enough numbers. If you're telling us that 70% or more of the population is vaccinated, and now you're telling us that most of the deaths are from people with 4 or more comorbidities, you can't tell us that those are all unvaccinated people, unless you're counting them unvaccinated because they only had 1 or 2 shots and not 8. You know, it depends on what their definition of unvaccinated is, but you get my point. You can't have it both ways. You can't tell us that normal, healthy people walking around breathing free air with pure blood are the reason that people are getting sick, and then turn around and tell us that the people that are dying had multiple comorbidities. It doesn't happen. That just doesn't add up. Now, for the people that have been hypnotized, who are under this mass psychosis, to them, they're not even questioning. They're beyond rational thought at this point. They have no idea how to think rationally. They have no idea how to think outside of that box of, you know, pandemic of the unvaccinated, and all these people died with multiple comorbidities. And we were calling it from COVID, but it actually is with COVID. Do you remember that? And do you guys remember when Scarf Lady sat there in the coronavirus briefing and told the whole world that they were going to count anybody that died with COVID in the same category as dying from COVID? Do you guys remember that? I remember it. It was like April of 2020. Anybody that was paying attention knew the scam that they were running. We knew because she told us that they were going to count everybody. So if you ended up in the hospital with a gallbladder surgery and they tested you for COVID and you were positive for COVID and then you died because they killed you on the table and put you on a ventilator, then of course they're going to count it as a COVID death. You know why? Because they're getting money from the federal government for any COVID death. They're not getting extra money for a gallbladder surgery that went wrong. Okay? So that's just what I want people to understand. But let me go back to why they're shifting the narrative and what they're saying right now. So this is what they're saying. This is what they're telling us. Okay. They're saying, okay, that there's more cases that are with COVID instead of from. Now they're saying we need to protect the vulnerable. Wow, there's a news flash. Really? So you're saying that it's the actual people that are susceptible to getting sick that need to be protected, and not the perfectly healthy people walking around with pure blood that are not susceptible to getting sick? Is that what you're saying? Because those of us who've been saying that all along have been canceled and shunned and ridiculed and told that we're conspiracy theorists and that we're anti-science. But now you're telling us this. Okay. And now CNN even is turning on the CDC. Something's up when you know that the CNN is flipping their narrative against the CDC. Something's going on. All right. And then here's the crazy thing. They're saying that it's going to be endemic by the end of the year. So we went from like flattening the curve. Flattening the curve, by the way, is actually equivalent, in my opinion, of endemic. Why do I say that? Because the whole point was that they wanted to spread it out so that they wouldn't overwhelm the hospitals. Remember that? That was the whole point of flatten the curve, is that they wanted to make it so that the hospitals wouldn't get 8,000 patients in one day. And the whole idea is that you would spread it out so that people would get sick, over the course of months and months, even years, as opposed to all in 1 month. That was the whole point of flatten the curve. Okay. And it went from that to we have to completely eradicate this virus. Everybody knew that was a stupid thing. That was not even scientific, but they pushed and pushed and pushed it. And they told you that the virus would, or that the shot would be the answer to eradicating the virus. Well, that turned out to be a big fat lie because it doesn't even keep you from getting COVID. All it does is either cause you to get COVID or make it like less severe according to their narrative. All right. And the fact that people who get sick after getting the shot are thanking the shot, that's just sheer abuse talking. I mean, they're so brainwashed and so brain dead from being abused by this system. They don't even know what's what. I mean, they're thanking their abuser right now. Okay. Now let me get back to the whole endemic thing. So now they're telling you that it's going to be endemic by the end of the year. Guess what, guys? I'm pretty sure it's already endemic. That was the whole point of flatten the curve. If they had any intellectual honesty up there in the land of the little sociopath, also known as Baby Mengele, they would have leveled with you on that from the start. The reason that you flatten the curve is so that you don't overwhelm the hospitals, so that the whole thing becomes endemic and that you gradually expose people to it. That's the whole idea, so that they can build up resistance and immunity. Okay. I think at some point they also realized that the purebloods just aren't going to give in. They're just not. And we're not. I don't care what you do. You're never going to convince me to go get the shot. Not going to do it. I'm not getting any shot. I'm not going to do it. And so there's a lot of people out there like me. There's more people out there like me and you that haven't gotten it than they actually accounted for. That's part of what's going on. And most of those people are not going to vote for another Brandon regime. They didn't vote for him in the first place, but that's a whole different story. So there's so many things coming into play right now in this whole thing. But a big part of it, I think, is that they understand and they know that they're losing the narrative. So they have to shift it. They have to shift it now to make people think that, hey, we've got this under control. The only people that are affected now are the truly vulnerable with multiple comorbidities. And hey, we've got this. And in fact, we're coming out with another shot in March just for the Omicron. And so if everybody gets that, it's going to protect all the people with the comorbidities. I think that's the way they're going. And the reason for that is that the big pharma medical industrial complex needs to like recycle something that the purebloods refuse to take. They need to repackage it, remarket it, relabel it, and put it out as as a specific purpose drug just for one variety. I think that's what they're doing, because remember the fact that all the purebloods refuse this, it cut into their bottom line. That's why they're pushing it on kids. That's why they're pushing multiple boosters. they're trying to basically like unload inventory, for lack of a better word, because making, several $billions and getting it subsidized and paid for by the federal government by your tax dollars wasn't enough. Okay. What they're doing, what the pharmacy industry, what the medical industrial complex is doing is criminal on so many levels. And it should actually infuriate everybody when you really understand how it works. Because not only this whole scam that they've run is to me like the biggest scam ever perpetrated on the American people, and financially especially, because I'll tell you why. Because not only did they shut down your businesses, not only did they try to prevent you from making a living by forcing you to take their shot, but it was all paid for. It was all paid for by the federal government, AKA your money. All right. And so not only did the government give them subsidies, they also gave them R&D money. They gave them money to distribute the vaccine. They have massive contracts with the government, and they don't have to pay, as far as I know, they don't have to pay a single sales rep. This is not like other drugs where they send the sales reps around to all of the hospitals. They don't have to run ads on TV. So think about this. Think about how much profit they're pocketing from having the media and all of their lapdogs in government promote and advertise this shot for them. Have you guys thought about that? Because normally a pharmaceutical distribution depends, a successful launch of a pharma product depends on massive TV advertising and massive sales force. Anybody that's worked in the pharmaceutical industry understands that. The sales reps have to go and educate and convince the doctors to prescribe their drug. And they didn't have to do that, okay? The federal government, you paid for all of the marketing, and you're still paying for it. And the federal government paid the pharmaceutical companies to develop it. I mean, these guys are making out like bandits. It's criminal. It's the biggest grift in the 20th and 21st century combined. Do you guys see that? I mean, that should make every thinking person beyond furious that they've done this. And so anybody that tells you that the shot is free, anybody that tells you that the shot is free is delusional. They're not free. You're paying for them. Okay? Just like every other thing that has been done with your tax dollars. It's like a money fountain that's flowing to these people. Just money. It's your money. It's your money. So they're crushing the middle class, destroying middle class businesses, destroying livelihoods of the middle class. And that's not even counting the inflation. I haven't even talked about that yet. So, they're crushing you in every way possible, because inflation is a tax on the poor and the middle class. The rich can continue to pay. They can pay $8 for a pint of strawberries. Okay, it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect their bottom line. It affects your bottom line. It affects how much you take home at the end of the month, how much you put in the bank, how much you save for your kids to go to camp, how much you have, to pay down your mortgage, to pay off debt, whatever it is. It affects everybody that lives that way. It doesn't affect the 1%, the rich, at all. They don't know. They don't care. They just, pull up their Instacart and get the groceries delivered to their house. And, it's like, oh, okay, swipe the credit card. That's it. They don't care. I'm kind of all over the place today, so apologies. But I think you get my point. Now, the other thing the CDC has come out and said that all of a sudden is that these tests that they've relied on, these PCR tests that have upended people's lives, that have prevented student athletes from playing games, having an entire season disrupted, that have, prevented people from working. People have been sent home without pay because they got a a positive test without a single symptom. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. All of a sudden now they're saying they're not using these. Well, one of the reasons one of the reasons I think that they're also switching the narrative is because they don't actually have enough tests. And so they actually, I think that they have, I think they recalibrated and they looked at, I think the PR machine got together and said, okay, we're going to have to shift the narrative here. We've got to change our messaging because of some very practical implications. One is we just don't have enough PCR tests. Two is the purebloods are never going to do what we say. Three is we want more money. Four is our numbers for the midterms are just hitting rock bottom already, and it's only January. And so we've got to regain the confidence of the people. And four, I think that going back to the test, I think that probably somebody did an inventory of flu tests and realized, you know, we got a crap load of these because we haven't used them in 2 years. So why don't we pull these puppies out again and start testing everybody for the flu? You know, and remember, if they get their way and mandate the COVID shot, then it's just, you know, it's just a hop, skip, and a jump to mandating the flu vaccine to be able to participate in society. Okay, so I think that some of what's happening here is just part of their sinister plan to control you. But I actually think that some of it is spin control because they didn't count on the people fighting back so hard. And when it comes to the election, I actually don't think that they counted on the people showing up and the numbers that were still showing up. I don't think they counted on what happened in Virginia in November. Now, some of you are going to say, oh, that was just a bone that was thrown at the people, you know, to get them to think that everything's okay now. I don't think that's the case. I think that we actually did break their algorithm in Virginia and we showed them what's possible. Also, don't forget the fact that we actually still have, there are things that are happening with regard to the 2020 election in Georgia, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, I think Michigan, Arizona. Like, that's not done. You know, that whole situation is not finished. Okay. And so when it comes to what's going on with the left, with the globalists, I think that they are maybe scrambling a little bit to do some spin control, some narrative control. All right. That's what I think. That's what I think they're doing. I don't know. What do you guys think? I don't know why I get just some weird trolls in here. Yeah, 2 years to flatten the curve. Oh my goodness, Nancy says her vaxxed lunch group has banned any unvaxxed from coming to lunch. That's okay. I was just as afraid of being around them, right? Patricia, yeah, I am fired up, aren't I? Oh, okay. Just reading your comments here. If you're listening and you're not watching, you can't see me reading the comments, but that's what I'm doing right now. Catherine, money is not the root of all evil. The love of money is the root of all evil. That's a very important distinction. Money is good. We like money. Money is important. Jesus had money. Jesus used money. Jesus was wealthy. Yeah, there you go. Okay. So I just saw your comment. Okay. Okay. Michelle, thank you for answering that question about the shot. Yeah, here's something else. People are saying that that CNN is broke. And I think that's very interesting because there's something that I want to talk to you about. This reminds me of the Trump social. Okay, so one of the things that I'm not an expert on investing, but one thing that I know and that I read when he first launched his company is that it's in something called a SPAC, SPAC, and the company that he launched, it's not on the stock exchange. It's not called Truth Social. It's DWAC. It's Digital World Acquisition Corporation. And the reason that that's important uh, is because it is it's a company that is able to acquire other assets. And so, for example, if a company starts to lose valuation in the market, DWAC can actually take them over, sort of like corporate rating. Okay, and so think about that. If you understand the way Trump's mind works, um, he's actually largely responsible for CNN being down in the dumps financially because their ratings tanked when he left, when they conspired to get rid of him. They didn't really think about that part. They didn't think that part through. But what is possible here? There's two things that could happen. One is that the federal government, could actually seize the assets of CNN based on President Trump's executive order having to do with anybody that conspires to overthrow an election, to interfere with an election. But also, it's possible that with enough cash, DWAC could acquire other companies like CNN. So imagine if Trump's social media company, it's not just a social media company, it's a digital acquisition company. That's important to understand because it's about broadcasting, it's about all of that. Imagine if his company actually has enough cash to take over a CNN or an MSNBC. They already have all of the assets in place. They have the studios, they have the equipment. It's all there. It would be a takeover. That's possible. I think, do you guys know that? Do you know that's part of the potential outcome of this launch of DWAC? I mean, that's one reason I bought stock, in that company is because I can see where it's going. There's tremendous potential, I believe, with that company. I am not giving anybody financial advice. I'm just telling you that my understanding of it is that there's a tremendous potential for what is coming with the downfall of these other broadcast corporations. I just think it's inevitable. I do. Okay. Now let me look at the. Let me just look at this. Let me look at your comments again. Oh, I think I got to the end of the comments. Delia made a comment that I wanted to address. She said that the elderly were targeted to reduce the draw on Social Security funds. I agree with that. Not just Social Security, but pensions. Because, the people are living 20, 30, 40 years past their retirement, maybe not 40, some are, but you get my point. So Social Security was actually put in place, and they chose the date of Social Security of retirement because it was actually 2 years longer than the life expectancy at the time. I don't know if you guys know that. So I think they chose 65 because 63 was the life expectancy, and they didn't count on having to pay out anybody really. And then people started living longer. And now I think life expectancy is 78. But that's average. And so you have people that are living into their 80s, 90s, even to 100. That is something that they didn't count on. And so absolutely, I believe that what they did here was to target the elderly. I mean, that's why they have all this isolation. They know that the virus is something you can survive. Most people, unless you end up in the hospital, and when that happens, what's the first thing they do? Oh, you can't visit them, it's too dangerous. Not never mind the fact that the entire staff can go in and out of the room, that housekeeping and meal service and CNAs and nurses and doctors and all those people can go in, but God forbid a family member would go in there. They know why they're doing it. It's for the isolation, right? I mean, think about that. And that's why when my dad got sick, and I knew that he was sick. I avoided taking him to the hospital, to any facility. So, you know, it's if you dwell on it too long, it's very disheartening. It's discouraging. That's why we have to keep our eyes on the win, which is really, God wins. We know that. We know that putting our trust in Jesus and praying and getting into the Word is the way that we keep our minds and our hearts uh, from going into that place of negativity. That's really important, because I mean we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do to save this country. And that brings me to my next point, which is, and this is something that I want people to understand here. I want people to get this, because there's a lot of talk out there about violence. There's a lot of rhetoric about, oh, we're headed for a civil war. Have you guys seen that on social media? That's it. This is going to happen. Better be ready, et cetera, et cetera. There's always there's always going to be people that are put in place, whether they're bots or shills or whatever. In social media, they're going to be using people or accounts to influence you. And this is something that I really, really want to warn people about. Don't buy into that narrative. If you get into a conversation or you see anything on Telegram or social media where it's a so-called patriot that is a MAGA person, that is a Trump supporter, that is advocating for violence, my suggestion is that you block them, that you delete them, that you report them, because one of the things that they do that we've learned is that they will infiltrate a group and then stoke violence, and then it gets turned back on the actual peace-loving, freedom-loving patriots. That's what happened on January 6th. Okay, they infiltrated the group and they stoked violence. And now at this point, we're pretty sure that it was the feds who did it. That's why they're calling it the Fedsurrection. But the Fedsurrection is not just physically in a place like DC. It's actually online too. And so a lot of those accounts that you see that are encouraging people to take up arms and who are pushing the Civil War narrative, those are actually accounts that are there to draw you into that, and to to take the little shred of patriotism that you have and find out who they can radicalize. It's the same techniques they use like with ISIS. So be extremely aware and make sure that you don't fall into those conversations, because what happens is, let's say that you share a tweet or a Parler or a Getter or whatever it is. If you share those things or you retweet or you like, that's all they need to come back and implicate you in violence. So do you understand how this works, guys? it's a form of entrapment. But because they control the narrative, they get away with it. It's exactly what happened in January 6th. That is why we have people, patriots who did nothing wrong, who are incarcerated in the DC gulag without even being charged with a crime at this point. And so I feel that there is a very strong um, urge right now to warn you about this, um, that you don't that you don't fall for this. And so, I've got somebody telling me, well, in Germany and France, it's getting violent. This is not Germany and France. Okay. I'm telling you this for your own good. If you choose to take part in it, that's up to you. But I'm telling you that I'm not going to take part in it. And I am not going to, I will not condone it. So right now I have somebody on my YouTube who's providing me with a perfect example of what I was just talking about. So I'm going to read this. This is a quote. This is a listener who is saying this. This is not my sentiment. I want to make that very clear in case somebody takes my words out of context. I'm going to read this comment that Ellen Morgan on YouTube just posted. But if we want the hate and lies gone, it starts with yourself to stop doing it yourselves. To me, that looks like, maybe I'm misreading it, but it's in all caps, so that's yelling. But it's that to me, that's like a borderline comment, right? Well, what do you mean? What can you elaborate on that? Be very careful about getting into conversations um, and getting sucked into something that is actually promoting violence. Okay, um, use discernment. Use extra discernment and extra wisdom. All right. So Kathy says they're provoking a civil war. It doesn't matter. Okay, I'm just looking at Ellen's additional comment here. Okay, she says show love, caring, and truth, positive response, not mean. Thank you for clarifying that. I appreciate that, because it looked a little bit different initially. Now, yeah. So just remember, they may be provoking, and you may see people who are actually asking you, or who are trying to engage you and say, hey, this is what we need to do. We need to fight back. That's what I'm talking about. Don't get sucked into that kind of thing, because the next thing you know, you've been set up and entrapped. And all of a sudden you got feds knocking at your door and saying, well, is this your social media? This is what it says. This is the person you were talking to. You retweeted this. You liked this. Okay. It's a horrible, horrible form of entrapment, but that's what they're doing. All right. And Karen says, come against them in an opposite spirit. All right. Okay. Yeah. So Ellen on YouTube, thank you for clarifying that. It was a little bit, now that I got the context, I appreciate that. So, yeah, so this is important, that people understand what's being done, and you have to be wise to the propaganda. You have to be wise to it. And, it is important to walk away. Don't engage in that. Don't engage, even if it's somebody that you think is on Team Freedom, Team America. Those are the people that they do that on purpose. Okay. And they, the gaslighting and the brainwashing is just rampant, and they've been doing it from the beginning. I mean, this is how they got people into a state of mass psychosis, was just by stoking the fear, stoking the uncertainty, the isolation, all of it. That's what they were doing. And they're still doing it. They're still doing it. I want to show you something that was going around on Twitter yesterday. This is remarkable. It's absolutely okay. So it's just absolutely remarkable. Let me just show you something that came up yesterday. This is on Twitter. So this somebody posted a nurse, a nurse posted a picture on Twitter, and it looks like this, okay? Like that. Okay? And it said, so here she is like exhausted, right? And the tweet was this. Let me go find it because it's very entertaining. When you see through the narrative. Where is it? Hold on a second. I thought I took a screenshot of it. Okay, basically, let me see if I can find this. Hold on. This is very interesting when you really understand what's going on here. Uh, hold on. Sorry, guys. This is what happens when I don't take my screenshots. So basically, here we go. So this is the tweet, all right? This is very interesting. So I think you're going to find this very interesting. So this is the tweet. It says, "This will be my most sincere tweet ever. I'm begging, I'm pleading with anyone who will listen. I'm begging you as a nurse from the bottom of my heart, please get vaccinated today. I'm so tired and we are running out of resources and people. Please, please help me." So that's the tweet, okay? But here's the thing. The thing that you didn't see is that um, the picture that was put up of the nurse. Who here is familiar with stock photography? So if you go on Google and you Google tired nurse stock photo, this is what you're going to see. So remember all those people accusing Trump of being elected by Russian bots? Remember that? This is actual propaganda that is being pushed. And I've shown you this before. So if you go in Twitter and you go in social media, you will see multiple posts like this with almost identical wording. And this is what they do. This is how they got people in positions of leadership to cave to the pressure for closures and masks back in 2020. They use these bot farms, and they just post, in the replies, they post the same text, the same images over and over and over. And because we have people in leadership who are not savvy to the way social media works, they actually think that these are their constituents and that they're pressuring them, and that the majority actually want masks and lockdowns. That's how this was all. That's how the propaganda machine was put into motion. Do you guys understand that? Do you understand that's how it works? So instead of actually listening to their actual constituents, these people have been pressured for years now by ridiculous propaganda that is pushed out like this. So if you take nothing else away from today, I hope that you take away an understanding that that the people that have pushed the pandemic, that are pushing all of this, have no interest in helping you ever. That it's all self-serving. That it's all to promote their agenda. which is a globalist society where there is no more middle class, where everything that is done is a massive money laundering. That it's a massive money laundering operation that is designed to impoverish you and put you into a state of perpetual servitude. Do you guys get that? Are you starting to get that? I don't mean to sound like a pessimist. I just want you to understand. I want you to understand how you're being manipulated and how the people around you are being manipulated and the end result of what happens when you don't understand that. I'm constantly amazed at how many people in positions of leadership, whether it's political, religious, whatever, how little understanding they have of how this works. If people that you elected to Congress really got this, then they would understand that these are not their constituents, that they would make completely different decisions, governors, et cetera. And I guess there's an art to understanding it, and maybe it's something that I've been given an understanding of it. I think Christy understands it. I know Millie does. Maybe because we've been in the fight for so long, and a lot of you do understand it. A lot of you are getting an idea. A lot of you more now than you knew 4 years ago. And we can thank Trump for that. It's because of him that everybody is skeptical of everything, right? They're like, oh, wow, I don't believe that, And 4 or 5 years ago, people didn't think that way. They just, I think most people thought that, the world at large, is really looking out for your best interests, that people are basically good at heart, that, the government certainly can't have bad intentions and the media is here to help and they're your friend. I think a lot of people thought that. I think way fewer people think that now. And so that is just what I wanted to put out there to you. There are still a lot of blind people, and it's important that you take it on yourself, that you take responsibility for helping those people in such a way that, you don't alienate them. Because obviously, if you go get all up in their face and say, you're being manipulated, you are in a state of hypnosis, you're in a state of psychosis, you have no idea what's going on, you've been completely manipulated and led around like a sheep for the past going on 3 years. That's not really a winning strategy. But if you start to actually ask questions or just throw out little things that are points of truth, that actually helps. I mean, I was in a store yesterday and a woman was telling me, my friend who works at the hospital was telling me that, all of the people in the hospital are unvaccinated. And I'm thinking, okay, that's just BS. That's not even true. But also the hospital's at capacity because they fired people. But here's what I said to her. I said, oh, that's interesting. I said, I wonder what he means by unvaccinated, because I know that that they started saying that people who hadn't gotten their second shot were considered unvaccinated. Is that what he's talking about? Or is it people who hadn't gotten the booster? Are those considered unvaccinated? I said, I think you really need to understand the definition and what the hospital is defining as unvaccinated before you throw out a blanket statement like that. And she just stopped. She was like, oh, okay. It's really interesting, So it's just little stuff like that where you can kind of get a little crack in the armor of the stupidity and say, well, here's a fact that I know to be true, is that anybody who hasn't gotten the second one is considered by the medical establishment to be unvaccinated. But is that really the case? And then I told her too, I said, when I talked to the people at the antibody clinic, they told me that 95% of the patients there were vaccinated. So how does that square with what you're hearing from your friend who works at the hospital? It's like you've got to break that. You got to break the spell. All right. Stephanie on YouTube says, I had trust issues before, now forget about it. Yeah. I know. I know. It's crazy. June on Facebook says, I've been right here with you, Mary Grace, from day one. This is also what I've learned on my own over the course of these past several years. I lived trying to red pill and love. Thank you for doing what you do and enlightening folks. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's very nice, very kind. Uh, Okay. Speaking of the show, I don't know if you guys know that I have a link on my website where you can support the show. Some of you guys do that already. Gino, thank you. I just got your thing the other day. Delia, thank you. There's one other person that I saw come across, and I can't remember your name. I apologize. But you can go there. It's called, just go to my website, marygracemedia.com, and click on support. You can either do my Venmo or you can do something called Give Butter. And if you do Give Butter, you can do like a monthly thing. So think about that. And then also, if you buy superfoods that or CBD, that actually supports what I do as well, because it's not free to run a show. I don't know if you guys know that. And to be able to like plunk myself down here in the middle of the day and come on. So I do thank those people that have been supportive over all of this time. I really do thank you. Lisa on YouTube. I remember when first seeing you when you were live in Washington, D.C. Yeah. Yeah, I might be in D.C. in a couple of months. We'll see. Stephanie says they can't explain how my 97-year-old aunt in the hospital, not for COVID, keeps testing positive with 0 symptoms. She is a red pill. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Nancy. I appreciate that. Okay, another comment. I'm in comment reading mode right now. Okay, on Facebook, my family and I joke about it. My brothers and sisters and mom are vaccinated and they just got the booster. So I told them to make sure I am left in their will. We don't fight over our decision. My husband and 3 kids aren't vaxxed, but my son is in the military and was forced to take it, and that saddens me. Yeah, that is very sad. Hopefully that will stop. I think you need to start selling apparel like the red stocking cap. I would buy another one. I need to wear my cap one day, don't I? I wore it last week in the snow. I have the cutest red cap. Okay. Catherine. Oh, you guys are just full of the compliments today. I'm going to read this compliment. Catherine on YouTube says, Mary Grace, you have been and are one of my favorites to listen to. You give out great info and I appreciate you very much. You are a blessing. Thank you. My listeners are a blessing. Oh, wow. Christy moving to Florida. Yeah, I don't know when I'm going to be back in Florida. I was thinking of going this month or next month, but I don't know. I like Florida in the summertime. I like surfing. So we'll just see what happens. I got to see what's up, with my dad too. Okay, let's see what else. Well, at least we know Christy's not going to bring crazy Northwestern politics to Florida with her. I just hope you can get a U-Haul. Apparently the U-Hauls are sold out. Oh, this is interesting. Here's another example of propaganda. I just saw that I retweeted it a while ago. This is from Fox News Radio. Listen to this. I don't know how this can even stand. Here we go. Oh, your son's dog destroyed the pom-pom. You can make another pom-pom. They're easy to make. Just get some yarn and wrap it around a piece of cardboard and tie it in the middle. Not hard. Okay. American workers are making record high wages. This is for real. This is something that came out by a blue check account on Twitter. American workers are making record high wages and unemployment rates are the lowest. Let me read that again. They should have put a comma there. American workers are making record high wages and unemployment rates are the lowest we've seen since pre-pandemic times. How many people quit their jobs in November? It was something crazy, like 1.9 million. Do you guys remember that? Okay. And then the jobs report in from December was just this abysmal number, like 100,000 jobs created. But okay, let me keep reading this piece of propaganda trash. Wall Street Journal associate John C. Bussey joins to discuss why that is and what our economy can expect in light of Omicron. This is Fox News Radio. How do they get away? Really? How are they saying this? They're saying this unironically. They're saying this record high wages. I was just talking to some workers yesterday, some employees at a store, and they were talking about how expensive everything's gotten. They were talking about how the cost of living is not going up even close to what their wages are. They're not earning record high wages. They're earning the same wages they were earning last year and the year before that. Yeah. Lobo Mom says, you are my go-to when I have doubt or questions. That's awesome. Wow. You guys are amazing. Thank you. Christy, I got laid off, have time to prepare my move now. That's so awesome. Well, if you drive across country, maybe you can stop in Virginia. Okay, scores of moving trucks in Arizona, double parked, no one leaves Arizona. Is that like Hotel California? You can check out anytime you want, but you can never leave. Not the same, really, is it? That's more like hotel COVID. Yeah. Okay. Utility bills are outrageous. Yours is the soothing voice in the storm. You guys are awesome. Wow. Thank you. That's really good. Speaking of soothing, I want to tell you guys, obviously I'm going over today. So if you're looking to watch Elijah streams, go watch the replay, I guess, if you haven't left to watch Elijah streams. So here's what I wanted to tell you guys. I was listening to Elijah streams last week, and Mike Thompson was on there. And Mike Thompson was talking about how the Lord gave him a reading and really a prayer and study and worship plan that the saints are to take part in from the beginning of December until the beginning of February. Obviously, we're a little behind, but you can still catch up. And so it's sort of like a challenge that the Lord downloaded to him of, starting with worship, prayer, praying in the Spirit, if you have your prayer language, worship, I said that, and then reading the Bible. I think it was worship, read the scriptures, and then pray. But he had specific scriptures. He said to read Ephesians, Philippians, and Colossians. So I started reading Ephesians again. I recommend that you go back and listen to that episode and write that down. Go ahead and write that down, because it was very encouraging to me, and I've started doing it, and I've been just going in and reading. So Lobo Mom says, that was a great show. I'm using the plan. So easy and rewarding. It is. It's extremely easy. Yeah. So go listen to that episode. Listen to the whole episode. But I think it's in the last 3/4 of that episode where Mike Thompson tells us what the Lord downloaded to him in the plan. And you might be able to find it in the comments as well. But I would definitely go and check that out. I mean, because, sometimes I think it's easy to get a little bit lost when you're trying to have a Bible reading plan or even just a little to get on a schedule. So I've started doing it. I encourage everybody to do it. I'm reading Ephesians. Obviously, I'm going to have to double up on my chapters, because I think it was Ephesians, which has 6 chapters, and Colossians, and then Philippians. How many chapters in Philippians? 4. So I think it's a total of 14 chapters, but they're short. So you can read a couple a day. Now, What I was going to say, Rick is asking me, am I following Reinhard Fulmer works? Maybe give me a hint of what he does. Obviously, I'm not following him, but I might be familiar with it. Uh, Scott recently migrated to the beautiful red state of Idaho. That's good to know. Are you near Sun Valley? I've heard they have really good skiing up there. That's one thing I would go to Idaho for. Wyoming. Do they have good fly fishing in Idaho? I want to go fly fishing. I want to learn how to fly fish. I just think it would be very relaxing. Uh, Ephesians has 4 chapters. I thought Ephesians had 6 chapters. Sun Valley is a blue blot. That's what happens when they come in and develop these places, right? It's too bad. That's too bad. Okay, listen, if you're just coming back to watch the replay, please, if you're just coming back to watch the replay, please make sure that you leave a comment in the comment section, especially on YouTube and Facebook and anywhere really, because if you do that, it shows up in the feed better. All right, make sure you tag people. If you're on Facebook, share it into groups as well. And somehow I lost my access to my Facebook on my app, and so I got to go find it again. So if you left comments on Facebook and I didn't respond, that's why. So send me an email, info@marygracemedia.com, or if you tried to message me on Facebook, I just haven't been able to access it. It's just crazy. I thought they deleted me, but I don't think they did because you guys are watching on Facebook, so that means I'm still there. Reinhardt is the attorney for the Corona Committee. I've heard of him. Yeah, he's working on the legal side. Is building a legal court. Okay, so is he the one that's working on the Nuremberg 2.0? Okay, yeah, he's pushing the trials. All right. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Stephanie. Hit the like button. So, subscribe to the channel. I get sucked into your comments. I forget to tell this part. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the thumbs up for the show or the hearts or whatever you have, and make sure you're subscribed to the channel itself. Don't just like the show. Do both. Just make sure you've done that, and then turn on notifications so you don't miss a show. All right. Now, before I forget, I found out the other day that we're going to have a Ultimate Lifestyle Transformation group for superfoods. A lot of you have been asking me about that. I think I did mention it, but I wanted people to know that we're going to have a group that is going to be starting the end of January. And if you're going to want to do that, if you want to take part in the transformation, make sure you order your pack because you can still take advantage of the free shipping and it'll get to you in time. If you wait much longer, you're going to have to pay a little extra and do the express shipping just because the UPS or the USPS is just broken and they're just not going to get it to you in time if you take advantage of the free shipping. So write to me for that. It's info@marygracemedia.com if you want to do that and you want to find out about it. So you're going to get access to like a whole bunch of stuff, but we're having some live training calls for that. And it's very encouraging and you'll connect with other people who are doing it. So that's info@marygracemedia.com. And then also don't forget CBD. Here's the links right here. I just put them on the screen. So shopwithmarygrace.com. That's how you're going to get CBD. And then info@marygracemedia.com for the superfoods. So make sure you do that. And, don't miss out. If you do the superfoods, if you're a new customer, you're going to save over $100 off of that transformation pack. That's like 60 meal replacements. If you've already shopped before and you want to know how to get the discount again, you can do that just by setting up a smart order. And if you have questions about that, just email me, info@marygracemedia.com. Okay, let's see. Last chance for comments. Uh, did the preppers pack ever come out? Christy, no, that did not come out. And I will put a request in for that again because I think we need it. Here's something that people should know about superfoods is that the prices on superfoods right now is a bargain because the price has not gone up. And if you've been to the grocery store lately, you have seen a massive, massive price increase in everything. And so this is really like the most affordable per nutrient cost you can have in your grocery budget, in my opinion. I mean, you can survive on this stuff. It's absolute survival food, but it tastes great. Okay, I think that's it for me today. And I will be back on Wednesday. But I wanted you guys to know where's my caption here? I want you guys to know that Wednesday and Thursday, I'm doing my show at 3 o'clock. I just have conflicts that I can't avoid. So, Wednesday and Thursday of this week, same channel, 3 o'clock. So, please spread the word. And if you're not following my Telegram channel, make sure you do that. That is right here. It's Mary Grace Media Official on Telegram. You have to get the Telegram app, you have to set up an account, then you can follow me on there. That's the way that works. Okay? All right, let me check your last comments. Okay, that's it. So, had a little extra time today, got to chat with you. Thank you everybody for all of your input on the show. Thank you to my moderators. Thank you to all the great comments. I appreciate that. I hope that you have learned and taken away from this today. Please continue to keep President Trump in your prayers. Please pray for me and my family and for Barley George, who apparently got tired of screaming at me because he's quiet now. And please pray for our country, for our nation, for the truth to come out, and for more and more people to wake up to what is going on. We need more wakey here. All right, I will talk to you guys on Wednesday. Thanks again for everybody for being here.